Hi, welcome everyone to another episode of Inspiring Chat, where we talk to inspiring leaders, experts in all kinds of industries to bring you value and tips and tools that you can apply in your life. And today we have Carrie with us. Carrie is an author, relationship coach, and a soulmate expert, which sounds incredible. We all can use a little bit more soulmate input out, for ourselves and for others. So I'm excited to have you. Welcome, Carrie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Sandy.
It's a pleasure. So, Carrie, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do right now? Do you have any children? How did you become a relationship coach?
Yeah. Well, I am currently have several businesses and several children. But the being a parent is I think one of my most rewarding things that I'm doing right now. I have two boys. I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. They are incredibly spirited young boys who teach me every single day. Um, I am also a winery and vineyard owner. I own a winery and vineyard in North Carolina. That's a fun job that I have. And then my coaching and my writing, which is the thing that I do that is very deep within my heart. I've been coaching on and off since 2002, taking breaks to have children, do other businesses. And I love relationship coaching because I feel that every single thing that we do in life is about relationships, the relationships that we build, the relationships that we have, the relationships that we let go, the relationships that we learn from. If we can learn how to relate
Mm-hmm.
in a conscious way, it will infuse itself in every area of our life. So that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to focus when I looked at my coaching. I wanted to focus in on relationships.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, everything, no matter what we do, we have to relate with another human. It's work,
Mhm.
at home, with your family, your kids, yourself, your love partner. It's an essential skill to really know how to build relationships in all areas of life.
Absolutely. And it's not taught. We are not taught how to be in relationship. And so how can we know unless we really seek it out to learn, how to do it in a healthy way?
Right. I know it's incredible. I mean, I didn't even know about relationship coaching until a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh my God, of course, it's so needed because nobody teaches you. And then you have to go through the trial and error and have a gazillion messed up relationships to maybe figure it out, or the opposite could be you get stuck. It's like, oh, why do my relationships not work? Why do
Mhm.
people break up with me? Which is actually the title of your book. It's like, why can I not be in a relationship and figure this out? But it's hard. There's so many things you have to. There's just so much to go into.
Yeah, the it's funny. I named my book that because that was the question that I always asked myself. I created these relationships. I found these men who always broke up with me. And it was just, you know, oh, it just frustrated me so much. When I lived in New York City, I remember it happened again. I was sitting in my apartment just crying. Why is this happening? And through my own journey, what I found out was that it was very much related to what happened to me and my parents. My father broke up with my mother, and it was when I was 13. It was that just really pivotal age. And
Right.
so, through my own process, walking my own path, I had to look at how those glasses, those colored glasses of my father broke up with my mom, how that was playing in my own life.
Right.
Um, and I realized I figured it out through help with different coaches and through my own soul searching. And by really understanding it and clearing and healing it, then I brought in my soulmate, who is, my husband, my current husband. We've been married for 13 years.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you brought up an interesting point because, you could look at this and be like, oh, all these guys, I'm just attracting the wrong guys and they're breaking up with me because, whatever is wrong with them. But you
Mhm.
actually took it another route and figured out what you need to do so it doesn't happen. So you worked on yourself, on your own relationship with yourself to attract the right person, right?
Absolutely. So the question, why do they always break up with me, for the longest time was, why do they always break up with me? When I changed the emphasis to why do they always break up with me? Me, what's going on within me?
Mm-hmm.
That is where the magic happened. It's the scariest thing to look within ourselves,
Right.
but it's also the most empowering because what
Mm-hmm.
I found is it had nothing to do with anyone else. It
Right.
was just me. And therefore, I had the power to shift and change if I chose to.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost like magic because when I did that work internally, without even thinking, without even going out there, my husband showed up.
Right.
So,
It goes
yes.
back to taking 100% responsibility. And what a lot of people don't do is, especially nowadays, there's so many labels out there, or married to a narcissist, and it could be both. It could be the wife or it could be the husband. But or in a toxic relationship. And we blame the other one. We always blame the partner. Oh, we're in a toxic relationship with the other person. But once we start realizing what part we had in that relationship,
Mhm.
because it takes two, one
Mhm.
has to fuel the other one. And, it's a give and take. So once you take responsibility, that's when everything changes, right?
Absolutely. It was so interesting because even through my first marriage, um, I always blamed my dad. It
Mm,
was always about like my dad. It's whatever my dad did. And when I went through my divorce, there was a moment that I had where I realized, oh, it wasn't just my dad. There were two people in that relationship.
right.
And I understood that now being in a marriage. And
Mm,
so I began to look at what my role in every relationship was.
right.
And part of it was a mindset thing. Either I expected the man to break up with me, or I was scared that it was going to happen, which was also me expecting it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was a big aha moment. Hard,
Right.
it was hard and challenging, for me to really like, oh, take that in that, oh, I had a part to play in this.
Right.
But that was where, again, the power came in of
Mm-hmm.
taking responsibility and then saying that I could make the change for it. I could make the change.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you know what your part was, you can either change those parts or you
Mm-hmm.
can just release them. And then you don't have that fear, in your case, the person's going to break up with me. Or, I mean, so many times, and I am guilty of this after the divorce, when I started dating again, I would call myself, oh my God, a shit magnet. Excuse my French.
Mm-hmm.
But I told myself so much that I'm attracting, the wrong guys. They're all the same. They're all treating me bad that I labeled them with that. And what do you think I attracted? Exactly what I asked for. So it wasn't until I stopped and I was like, wait a second, this is crazy. That's
Mm-hmm.
when I stopped. And then different people started showing up too. But it always starts with us, and it's crazy how we manifest all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And I really strongly believe that the people that I attract to me are the perfect reflection to look at what's going on within me.
Right.
What is going on within my mind? If I'm creating people who can't give me what I feel like I deserve, then I need to look at where I'm not giving myself what I think I deserve. Um, And so that's where you can use the people outside of you to really look at what's going on within me. What am I attracting? What are they reflecting off of me? And therefore, it's almost like they're a gift that's been given to you, a gift of, oh, now I get to look at that aspect of myself. Thank you for coming into my life and showing me that that's something I need to look at.
And that's the hard part, because it takes a lot of courage to look at yourself and see and admit to your own flaws or mistakes that you have made in a relationship rather than blaming the other person. It's a lot easier. But
Yes.
it won't change until you do that. You have to admit to yourself all the parts that you contributed to that relationship getting bad. So,
and I think if you think about it this way, it's a lot easier to blame other people for sure, but it's also completely powerless.
right.
You're like, you are a victim to whatever comes to you. So I have learned on my path that I would rather have the courage to really go within and reclaim my power than blame the other person and give up all my power.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you're in control of yourself. You can't control anyone else. And once the relationship has gone bad or is over, what's the point in blaming them? It's just going to hold resentment and anger. It's not going to change anything. So,
Absolutely. And that resentment builds up in our body. And all it's going to do is keep you stuck.
right.
And just keep you creating the same thing over and over again. So, and it's been shown that resentment and anger, they sit in the body. They create dis-ease, whether that is a physical disease or a mental wellness. Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts everything and it doesn't change it. It just makes you sick. And then you bring that resentment into the next relationship and you repeat the same cycle. So it's like a never ending story, and that's where a lot of people give up on love because they think there's nobody out there for them when they're just creating their own reality basically by themselves by trying, like you said, trying to avoid whatever they don't want to happen, but thinking about it constantly. So it will happen. It's always in the back of your head. You're going to draw it in somehow because the other person may feel it and you're going to act differently. If you're worried someone is going to break up with you, or if you don't feel worthy of their love, you're going to act very differently versus if you're healthy mentally, emotionally, and you're just freely giving. It's totally different.
Absolutely. Like, I think about how I acted in a relationship when I was always scared that the person was going to break up with me. And I think that I was trying to be everything that I thought they wanted me to be, which is impossible. You think like, oh, I think that they like someone who watches football. So I'm going to like football, even though I really don't like football, but I'm going to because I think that. And so it's, you're giving up on yourself when you do that. Instead of focusing on yourself first, understanding what you love and who you are and what's important to you, and then standing in that. Now, that doesn't mean like that, oh, my boyfriend likes to watch football, I'm not going to because I just don't like to. It's just understanding where you sit. There's always a give and take in relationship. But, when those moments where people give up on love, like, I really understand that because I was there. And I think those are the moments where relationship coaches or coaches or therapists or whoever are really important, because when I was in that moment after my divorce where I was either going to close off my heart because it's like, oh God, it happened again, or I was just going to dig in and do it again and like really figure it out, I found someone to help me. He was like an energy doctor kind of guy, but I just dug in. I went to double sessions 2 times a week. And within 3 months, he had helped me by not letting me off the hook.
Right.
Because our conscious mind would be like, I don't really have to look at that.
You
But
don't want
when you have someone guiding you, they're going to say, nope, we're going to look at this. Let's look at this together.
right,
So that is really important. And it's okay to ask for help.
right. And you know, the thing about coaches is you see things that you don't see, or that you don't want to see. You know, so it's another perspective, and you know, because you see your world through your experiences, your pain. So if you're shutting off your heart, for example, you're going to have certain blocks or beliefs about what love is supposed to be, what the other person is supposed to be, and you don't always see the real truth. And a coach can guide you through that and really open it up and make you see everything that you're not seeing.
Yes.
So it's a little scary, but it's fun too. I actually I had some relationship coaching last year, and it was the funnest coaching I've ever done. You know, even with all the discoveries, I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that. That makes so much sense that I acted XYZ because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you know it, it's so much it's easy. It's easy to change it or just be like, oh,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing like that I do with my clients is I'm their cheerleader. You know,
mhm,
I'm there to say what you are experiencing is not bad. It's actually perfect. You're doing a great job. You know, this is exactly where you need to be. And this is exactly what we need to look at. And I'm cheering you on and I'm here for you. And I think that when we sit in our own minds of all the things that we've messed up on in our life, you know, we really get down on ourselves
right.
and we think, gosh, we must be the only person to be in this place and I'm a horrible person and I can't make a relationship work and who, you know, I just don't know what to do. So I'm just going to shut my heart off and we just get lost in our own mind.
Hmm.
We need that encouragement to know that what we're experiencing is okay.
Right. Yeah, and a coach can give you the tools to get out of that too. We talked a little bit before we went live, you know, just the whole down spiral. We all do it. Even, you know, I mean, as happy as you are, I take myself as an example. You know, my life is usually, you know, pretty darn perfect. But do I have bad days? Heck yes. Do I have days where I wallow in self-pity and, you know, just feel like everything is going wrong? Absolutely. But it's how you pull yourself out of it. And if you don't know yourself, a coach can be incredibly valuable on that because they'll give you the tools on how to get out of that stage so you don't end up falling into days, weeks, months, or you know, deep depression really.
Absolutely. And I think in these times of, you know, pandemic and just isolation, especially as a single person, I mean, it's, you know, I call it the master class. We're in the master class. We are being faced with, you know, some of the most intense, challenging days. And I think that it can be looked at as an opportunity. You know,
Right.
this is the opportunity to really choose a different thought and a different way of being and to choose a different action.
Hmm.
Um, I always talk about solutions. If you believe there are no solutions, you will experience no solutions. But if you believe that there is a solution, I just don't know what it is, but I'm going to open myself up to it, that gives, you know, a chance for the universe to say, like, okay, here's this through the form of a commercial you might have heard on TV, you know, that you never thought of, or a podcast or a book that came into your hands or that
Right.
was recommended to you. And it's really just about creating an opening.
Hmm.
There is a solution. What is it?
So true. I mean, we joke about it, you know, that social media and everybody's listening or even reading our thoughts because I swear I've had thoughts and then the ads start popping up on Facebook. I'm like, I didn't even Google this. Well, how did it, you know, because when you Google something, you get all the ads and it's just overload. I'm like, I only thought this. And then someone appears or a friend calls and it's like, hey, there's this class or I just read this book. You should read it or, you know, whatever it is. It's really, but you have to open yourself up to the possibility. That's the first step.
Absolutely.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So, what would you say will be, you know, something that someone could do right now, today, to start attracting their soulmate into their life?
Well, as as much as maybe we don't want to hear it, I would say to start a commitment to giving yourself 2 minutes a day for yourself, a self-care practice. I am a big believer in a self-care practice. 2016, my sons were 3 and 7, and I had lost myself. I had not spent any time with my own thoughts. I was running myself ragged. Everyone needed me. And I was pulled in a million directions. And I just had a moment of like, I don't know who I am. And so I committed to doing a yoga practice, which is something that feeds my soul. I've been doing it for 20 years, very sporadic, because my brain said, I can't get to a 30-minute class. I can't get to an hour class. And I just said, I want a minimum. And my minimum was 3 sun salutations. For anyone who knows yoga, it was going to take me 3 minutes. And I just made a commitment. I said, I'm going to do it. I held myself accountable by writing it down, what I did every day. And what I found was that consistency through that practice served me more than anything else. It allowed me to fill my container a little bit so that I could give to other people. So what's a really practical thing is sitting and following your breath for 2 minutes. You just close your eyes, you inhale as you say the word inhale, you exhale as you say the word exhale. You set your timer on your phone, 2 minutes. Inhale as you say inhale, exhale as you say exhale. It is as simple as that.
Right. And that's a great tool, because when we're stressed, we forget to breathe. If you really pay attention to your body, you're not breathing, or really not properly breathing when you're stressed out or when you're overwhelmed. So that grounds you and brings you back to center and relaxes and brings you back to peace, so you can give more. And what I love that you said is 2 to 3 minutes, because especially as parents, we tend to say, oh, I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to go to the spa. I don't have time for whatever fills your cup. But 2 to 3 minutes, anyone can do that.
Anyone.
And you can do that in the like, you don't even losing time. You can breathe while you're showering. It's not something that takes that huge commitment, and then you can always up it if you want to, or add
Absolutely.
something.
And even taking a shower is a self-care act. Like for me, I stand in the shower, and instead of just, I got to just get ready, I just take a moment and feel the water on my back and feel how good it feels. That's 2 minutes of focusing your thoughts. So it can be really easy. And I think if we make it more complicated as parents, we'll never get to it. But making that commitment is really the first step to start to understand who you are.
Right. Yeah. And when I even, I put it on my calendar, and when I go through my week, my thing goes on my calendar first, and I treat it like a business appointment. So if I have whatever, a beauty appointment or something, that half an hour, whatever it is, that is my appointment with myself. And if a customer, someone wants that slot, sorry, I'm booked that time, but I can do it after or before or whatever. And you have to get into the habit of doing that, because you are important, more important than even a customer. Sounds bad. Yes, customers are important, but if you're not healthy and in a good mental state, how are you going to serve your customers or anyone?
It's so true. This
So.
is how I hold myself accountable. So I started this. I was just going to show you. If you look at, if we can see it, I write down my day. Okay, that was day 573 of 730 days of yoga.
Right.
I started day 1 of 365. 5 minutes of yoga. That's it. Now I'm starting my 5th year, my 4th year, 5th year. I can't even remember, but I'm writing it down, and I am now on day 1,473.
That's incredible.
And have I wanted to be on my mat every time? No. Have I been conscious and present on my mat every time? No. Have I, spent days where I just sit in child's pose and breathe? Yes. But the important thing is I just show up. And as you document it, if you get a little notebook and you document it and you get to like that 100-day mark, oh my God, 100 days I have spent 2 minutes giving to myself. That's where like the momentum starts to build. Mm-hmm. Oh, I've had days where I'm in my 1000th day and I just don't want to be on my mat, but I'm like, I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep going because look at all the days that I've done and look at how I feel. And it shows you after a while that you are committed to yourself.
Right. And that's such a great life lesson overall with anything you do, If we only do things when we feel like doing them, we would never do anything. Mm-hmm. Or we would do it one day and not the next day. What would really happen? What kind of life would we have? You have to show up even when you don't feel like it. That's when you really make stuff happen.
Yes, I love that post that you posted today about showing up. Mm-hmm. Get dressed up and, right. Just show up. And when you can show up for yourself, you can show up for others.
Yeah. And we all go through that. We all have days where I'm like, oh my God, I do not want to adult today. I don't even want to get up today. No motivated, no matter how happy you are, we all have days like that. Mm-hmm. Or I really don't feel like doing that right now at work, self-care, whatever it is. But you do it anyways. And then when you're done with it and you did it anyways, you're really proud of yourself. It's like, I really didn't want to do this, but I did it anyway. And here I am. You can be proud of yourself. Absolutely. Which boosts your whole self-care in itself. It's crazy.
Yeah. And these are all the elements to fall in love with yourself. Mm-hmm. Because when we fall in love with ourselves, I think we grow up learning that focusing on ourselves or loving ourselves is selfish. And really, no one can love you until you love yourself. Got to just fall in love with every part of ourselves. We want our soulmates to love even the kind of icky parts about ourselves, the parts that are like not the most sunshiny, perfect right. parts. And so we have to do that to ourselves first.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, because you're going to have those insecurities and they're going to show up in the relationship. If you think, like, let's say if you think you're overweight or you're fat, you're going to act very differently in a relationship. You're constantly going to be, insecure, and you're not going to be open and honest in the relationship. You're going to hide your body and everything, versus where you're like, okay, this is who I am. I love myself. I love my body. You're going to show up completely different. You're going to show up confident, which will make him have you be even more attractive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I have this mantra that I lead my clients through when we're looking at things that are things that we judge about ourselves. Mm-hmm. So if I were to say, this was something that I dealt with a long time ago in my communication area, which is that because I had a moment with my father where he kind of shut down my voice. He didn't mean to, but what he said, that's how I interpreted it. So I thought that what I had to say wasn't important. And so a lot of my communication came out passive aggressively, because I was scared to really say what I felt for fear that it wasn't important enough or they didn't want to hear it. And so I would do this mantra of, even though I just communicated very passive aggressively, I deeply love and accept myself anyway. So even though I did whatever it is that I think is like, that makes me cringe, I deeply love and accept myself. And so even though we have that judgment about ourselves, we're still going to extend love and acceptance to ourselves. And it helps my whole energy feel, like you can feel the tension, and it just kind of helps to relax myself a little bit and just say, it's okay. It's okay that I'm not perfect. It's okay that I'm learning, and I'm going to love myself anyway.
Right. I love that. It's beautiful. It's so true. It all starts with ourselves. That's a big takeaway, right? So if you want to find your perfect soulmate, it starts with yourself. Mm-hmm. So you can actually attract the right person into your life and not what you don't want, and repeat those ugly patterns that we tend to go through.
It's so true. And I'll tell you, I have client after client they're just amazed because I just tell them, just trust me, we're just going to go there. And when they really start looking at themselves, their outside world changes almost magically. I just had a client that we just did even our first session, and she's like, oh my God, my kids are acting differently towards me. I said, I know, that's how this works. That's how, so we just need to change our idea that it doesn't come from the outside in, it comes from the inside out.
Right. Yeah. I always use the example, we're magnets, whatever you put out, it comes back. And it's like that with everything in life. So it has to start with you. If you're a bad magnet, you're going to attract bad things into it. So,
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, we do it with so many other things, but we don't do it with relationships. I mean, if you tell someone, well, if you're kind to other people, you're going to get kindness back. Anyone can relate to that. But when you change it over to relationship, it's like, no.
Yeah. And it's just because of all the programming that we, grow up with. We're just not, everything infiltrates all of our culture, as to how it works.
Right.
And so, it's about retraining our minds.
Right. I love that. Carrie, how can people reach you if they want to get more tips on finding their soulmate or start coaching with you?
Oh, awesome. I would love to connect with everyone here. My website is carriejaroslaw.com. I know my last name's, a little bit hard to pronounce, but it's Jaroslaw. And carriejaroslaw.com. I'm also on Facebook. You can search for me, Carrie Jaroslaw, author, coach, and you can link that as well. And I'm on Instagram, and I'm posting tips every week with how to cultivate self-care, how we cultivate soulmate relationships. So yeah, I'd love to connect with people.
It sounds awesome. Yeah, we'll post the links in the comments so you guys can reach out to her and see the magic that she does. So if you're looking for your soulmate, Carrie's the person to go to. So
thank you. I always feel very honored when anyone trusts this journey with me, because I know that it takes a lot to say, I'm gonna do this again, I'm gonna try this again. And so I hold people with the ultimate respect and honor to walk this path with them.
Right. Yeah, it takes a lot of trust because you have to open up parts of you that you may not want to show to someone else. So
yeah,
including yourself. Sometimes we don't want to see it ourselves. So, that may be harder than another person. Okay, it was amazing to have you here today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, and we'll connect soon. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me, Sandy. Thanks. It's been awesome.